For over 40 years, one of Ferrari's most mysterious prototypes sat rotting in silence, hidden from the world as if it never existed. This isn't just a story about a rare car, it's a story about secrecy, obsession, and a machine Ferrari never intended the public to see. Because buried beneath rust, dust, and decades of neglect was a Ferrari prototype so rare that even longtime collectors spoke about it like a rumor. A car whispered about in forums, argued over in private circles, but never proven to exist. Until someone finally opened the door. Imagine this for a moment. A forgotten industrial warehouse on the edge of Europe. The kind of place you'd never notice unless you were specifically looking for it. Broken windows. Rusted doors. Faded warning signs from another era. Nature slowly reclaiming what humans left behind. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of old oil and damp concrete. Light filters in through cracked skylights, illuminating rows of abandoned machinery frozen in time. And in the darkest corner of that building, hidden beneath collapsed shelving and torn tarps, sits something unmistakable. Low. Wide. Aggressive. A Ferrari. But not one you've ever seen before. This isn't a production model, this isn't a concept car shown under bright lights at an auto show, this is a prototype, a one-off experimental machine built behind closed doors, never approved for the public, and never meant to survive. According to experts who've studied it since its rediscovery, if restored correctly, this Ferrari prototype could be worth over $20 million. And yet, it was left to rot. To understand why, you have to go back to the late 1970s and early 1980s, a turbulent period for Ferrari. Racing regulations were changing. Emissions rules were tightening. Fuel crises were reshaping the automotive world. And inside Ferrari's engineering departments, designers were under pressure to reinvent performance without losing the soul of the brand. During this time, Ferrari built prototypes constantly. These cars were test beds for ideas, new chassis designs, experimental aerodynamics, radical engine configurations. They were driven hard, pushed to their limits, then usually dismantled or destroyed once their purpose was served. Ferrari didn't preserve prototypes back then. They erased them. Which is exactly why this discovery is so shocking. This particular prototype was believed to be part of an internal development program aimed at bridging Ferrari's racing technology with future road cars. It carried design elements that didn't match any production Ferrari from the era. The body panels were hand-formed. The proportions were unusual. The mounting points didn't line up with known chassis designs. Even the suspension geometry suggested experimentation rather than refinement. Most telling of all were the internal markings, factory stamps and serial codes that confirmed this car came directly from Ferrari's prototype division. This wasn't a replica, this wasn't a fantasy build. It was real. And then, suddenly, it vanished. Sometime in the early 1980s, the prototype disappeared from official records. No photographs were released. No mention appeared in press materials. No documentation surfaced in Ferrari's public archives. For decades, its fate was unknown. Some believed it was scrapped. Others claimed it was dismantled for parts and recycled into other projects. A few hardcore Ferrari historians suspected something else entirely, that the car had been quietly shelved after internal disagreements killed the program. For years, no one could prove anything. Until a small group of automotive researchers followed a trail of old facility records, supplier invoices, and forgotten storage leases that led them to a long-abandoned warehouse once connected to a former Ferrari engineering partner. What they found changed everything. When the covers were pulled back, the condition was brutal. Rust had eaten through sections of the body. The interior was destroyed by moisture and time. Wiring hung loose, brittle, and exposed. The once iconic Ferrari red had faded into a cracked, oxidized shell. At first glance, it looked like a lost cause. But beneath the damage, the details told a different story. The chassis layout didn't match any production Ferrari. The engine bay showed signs of custom fabrication. The cockpit was designed around driver ergonomics that wouldn't become standard for years. Every element screamed experimentation. And that's what made it priceless. This prototype wasn't valuable because it was beautiful. It was valuable because it represented a missing chapter in Ferrari's history. Experts studying the car believe it contains early versions of ideas that Ferrari would later refine and introduce decades afterward. Aerodynamic concepts that hinted at future ground effect designs. Structural elements that foreshadowed lightweight construction techniques Ferrari would eventually master. This car was Ferrari thinking out loud. And then deciding to forget. So why was it abandoned? That question still has no definitive answer. Some insiders claim the project was quietly shut down because of internal politics, with Ferrari leaders divided over the brand's future direction. Others point to safety concerns or ballooning development costs that made the car too risky to continue. There are also persistent rumors that the prototype worked too well, so fast and advanced that it risked overshadowing existing models and disrupting Ferrari's carefully controlled lineup. In a brand built on exclusivity and balance, even success can become a problem. When innovation moves faster than image, cancellation can be the safest decision. Whatever the reason, the decision was made to quietly shelve it. No announcement. No press, no explanation. Just storage. And then neglect. As years passed, ownership of facilities changed. Companies shut down. Records were lost. The prototype was moved, forgotten, and eventually left behind as the warehouse around it decayed. For decades went by. No one came back for it. The car sat in darkness, slowly deteriorating, its story fading into obscurity. Almost becoming a myth. When news of the discovery finally surfaced, the automotive world reacted instantly. Images spread online. Forums exploded with speculation. Ferrari historians analyzed every visible detail, debating authenticity and significance. Restoration experts argued fiercely about what should be done next. Because restoring a Ferrari prototype isn't like restoring a normal car. Every decision matters. Do you rebuild it to running condition, replacing damaged components, or do you preserve it exactly as found, rust and scars included? Either choice could change its value forever. What everyone agreed on was this: the prototype should never have existed in this condition. A Ferrari experimental car abandoned for over 40 years goes against everything the brand represents. And yet, Ferrari itself has remained largely silent. No official confirmation. No public claim. No denial. That silence only deepens the mystery. If you think cardio kills your calisthenics gains, that belief is holding you back. The real problem isn't cardio, it's doing the wrong kind. Most people treat all cardio the same, but long, slow jogging trains endurance at the cost of power and recovery when overused. Calisthenics needs explosiveness, strength, and work capacity. The biggest mistake is using slow, steady cardio as your main conditioning tool. It teaches your body to be efficient at being slow. Instead, use short, high-intensity cardio that builds power and supports strength. Let's start with sprinting. Today, the prototype is secured in a controlled environment. Its future remains uncertain. Some believe Ferrari will eventually step in and reclaim it. Others think a private collector will fund an exhaustive restoration. A few argue it should remain untouched, displayed as a raw artifact of what happens when innovation collides with secrecy. Whatever happens next, the car has already achieved legendary status. Not because it won races, not because it broke records, but because it survived when it was never meant to. This abandoned Ferrari prototype isn't just valuable because of money. It's valuable because it proves that even at the highest levels of engineering, history can be misplaced, forgotten, left behind. And sometimes, the most extraordinary machines in the world aren't hidden in museums or private collections. They're waiting in silence, rusting, until someone finally opens the door. If you enjoy stories about rare automotive discoveries, forgotten prototypes, and the hidden history manufacturers never wanted told, make sure to subscribe to Throttle Dust, turn on notifications, because the next legend could be hiding anywhere.